In the far reaches of the Andromeda Galaxy, nestled among stars and swirling nebulas, lay the planet Nix 9. The planet was a rugged jewel, a land of towering mountains, vast forests, and endless oceans. Its atmosphere shimmered with the hues of a perpetual twilight, casting an otherworldly glow across its varied landscapes. At the heart of this extraordinary world resided a creature of legend, the Zephyr. The Zephyr was the epitome of primal power and grace, a colossal beast covered in scales that glistened like liquid metal. Its eyes, icy blue flames in their depths, could pierce the soul of any who dared to meet its gaze. The Zephyr's presence alone was enough to instill a deep, instinctual fear in any creature, be it native or alien. For centuries, it had been the undisputed guardian of Nix 9, a living deterrent to would-be invaders and plunderers who coveted the planet's rich natural resources. But now, as the twin moons of Nix 9 hung low in the sky, casting their silvery light across the landscape, the Zephyr lay weakened in its cavernous lair. The once majestic roars that had echoed through the valleys and sent tremors through the ground were now reduced to labored breaths and faint, pained whimpers. The great beast was dying, and the planet it had sworn to protect was suffering alongside it. Dr. Mira Hayes, a renowned xenobiologist from Earth, was on the verge of making a breakthrough. She had dedicated her life to studying the galaxy's most elusive and extraordinary creatures, and the Zephyr had always been her ultimate goal. Now she found herself standing at the entrance of the creature's cave, her heart heavy with both awe and sorrow. Mira's research vessel, the Starlight Explorer, was a marvel of human ingenuity, equipped with the latest in medical and scientific technology. Accompanying her was a team of specialists, Dr. Alan Pierce, an expert in alien physiology, Lena Valen, a skilled linguist and archaeologist, and Captain Elias Ford, a seasoned pilot and security officer. Together, they had faced numerous challenges to reach Nix 9, navigating through asteroid fields and evading hostile forces that roamed the outer fringes of the galaxy. As they set up their mobile lab near the Zephyr's resting place, the gravity of their mission weighed heavily on them. The cave was a vast cathedral of stone, adorned with ancient symbols and carvings that hinted at a long-lost civilization. Stalactites hung from the ceiling like the teeth of some giant, slumbering beast, and the air was thick with a tangible sense of history and reverence. Dr. Hayes approached the Zephyr cautiously, her equipment in hand. The creature's eyes flickered open, and for a moment, Mira felt the weight of its gaze upon her. It was as if the Zephyr understood her intentions, its eyes conveying a mixture of pain, hope, and an unspoken plea for help. "We need to work quickly," Mira said, her voice steady despite the situation. "The Zephyr's life force is dwindling, and we need to find out why." Dr. Pierce nodded, already preparing a series of scans and diagnostic tools. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured, his eyes wide with fascination and concern. "It's as if the creature's essence is being siphoned away." Lena Valen, who had been examining the cave's carvings, called out, "Mira, you need to see this. These inscriptions, they're not just decorative, they tell a story." Mira joined Lena, her eyes scanning the intricate symbols and ancient text. With Lena's translations, the carvings revealed the tale of the Zephyr's origin, its role as the guardian of Nix 9, and a prophecy that foretold a time of great peril when the creature's strength would falter. It spoke of a symbiotic bond between the Zephyr and the planet, a connection that was now at risk of being severed. "The planet and the Zephyr are linked," Lena explained. "If one suffers, so does the other. The prophecy mentions a heart of Nix, a crystal with the power to restore balance. It's hidden deep within the planet." Captain Ford, who had been keeping a watchful eye on the cave's entrance, joined the conversation. "So we need to find this heart of Nix and bring it back here. How do we even begin to search for something like that?" Mira took a deep breath, her mind racing. "We start by gathering more data on the Zephyr and its environment. We need to understand the exact nature of this bond and how it's being disrupted. Then we can plan our expedition to find the heart of Nix." As the team set to work, the Zephyr watched them with a silent, almost knowing gaze. Dr. Hayes felt a renewed sense of determination. She knew that time was running out, but she was not about to give up. The Zephyr, the guardian of Nix 9, had protected its world for centuries. Now, it was their turn to protect the Zephyr. The fate of an entire planet hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. Dr. Mira Hayes and her team worked tirelessly in the shadow of the weakened Zephyr. Their makeshift lab buzzed with activity as they analyzed the creature's biology and its environment. Every scan, every sample, and every reading brought them one step closer to understanding the intricate bond between the Zephyr and Nix 9. It was a race against time, and the clock was ticking faster than anyone had anticipated. Days turned into nights under the perpetual twilight of Nix 9. Dr. Alan Pierce, with his expertise in alien physiology, meticulously studied the Zephyr's cellular structure. He found anomalies in its DNA that pointed to a deep-seated connection with the planet. The Zephyr's cells were not merely adapted to Nix 9, they were dependent on it. The creature's life force seemed intertwined with the planet's very essence. "This isn't just a physical bond," Pierce explained, poring over his data with a mixture of fascination and urgency. "The Zephyr's cells are resonating at the same frequency as the planet's core energy. If Nix 9 is in decline, so is the Zephyr." Lena Valen, the team's linguist and archaeologist, had been making significant progress deciphering the ancient carvings within the cave. Her discoveries were shedding light on the Zephyr's history and the ancient civilization that once thrived on Nix 9. This lost civilization had left behind a wealth of knowledge encoded in the cave's walls, knowledge that might hold the key to saving both the creature and the planet. "These symbols speak of a time when the planet was in perfect harmony," Lena said, pointing to a series of intricate carvings. The Zephyr was not just a guardian. It was a vital part of the ecosystem. The ancient inhabitants revered it, and they knew how to maintain the balance between the Zephyr and Nix 9. One particular carving caught Lena's attention. It depicted a glowing crystal, surrounded by rays of light, with the Zephyr and the planet depicted in harmony around it. This was the heart of Nix, the legendary crystal that the ancient texts prophesied could restore balance. "The heart of Nix," Lena murmured, tracing the carvings with her fingers. "It's said to hold immense regenerative power. If we can find it, we might be able to save the Zephyr and Nix 9. Dr. Hayes was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. "We need to find the heart of Nix. The ancient texts must have left clues about its location." The team redoubled their efforts, combining their scientific expertise with the ancient knowledge they had uncovered. They studied geological surveys, mapped out the planet's energy flows, and cross-referenced everything with the carvings in the cave. It became clear that the heart of Nix was not just a myth. It was real, and it was hidden deep within the planet's core. However, reaching the core would not be easy. The path was fraught with dangers, from unstable caverns to aggressive alien fauna that had adapted to the harsh conditions of Nix 9's interior. They would need to be prepared for anything. Captain Elias Ford took charge of planning their expedition. His experience in navigating hazardous environments was invaluable. "We'll need to be ready for anything," he said, his voice steady and authoritative. "We'll take enough supplies for a 2-week journey, advanced mapping equipment, and defensive gear in case we encounter any hostile creatures." The team gathered their supplies and prepared for the journey ahead. Dr. Hayes felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The heart of Nix was their last hope, but the path to it was perilous. As they made their final preparations, the Zephyr watched them with a silent, almost solemn gaze. It seemed to understand the gravity of their mission and placed its trust in these determined humans. The descent into the planet's core began with a series of narrow tunnels that led deep underground. The air grew warmer and more humid as they ventured further, the light from their torches casting eerie shadows on the walls. The deeper they went, the more signs of the ancient civilization they found, ruined structures, forgotten artifacts, and more carvings that seemed to guide them on their way. Each step brought new challenges. Unstable ground and sudden cave-ins tested their resolve. They encountered strange, bioluminescent creatures that seemed to thrive in the darkness. And at times, They had to fend off aggressive predators that viewed them as intruders. Despite the dangers, the team pressed on, driven by the knowledge that the fate of the Zephyr and Nix-9 depended on their success. After days of grueling travel, they finally reached a vast underground chamber. The air was charged with energy, and at the center of the chamber stood a massive crystal, pulsating with a radiant, ethereal light. This was the heart of Nix. Dr. Hayes approached the crystal with awe and reverence. "We found it," she whispered, her voice filled with a mix of triumph and relief. "This is it." The crystal's energy resonated with the same frequency as the Zephyr's life force, confirming that this was indeed the key to saving the creature and the planet. Carefully, Dr. Hayes extracted a fragment of the heart of Nix, knowing that this shard held the power to restore the balance that had been lost. As they made their way back to the surface, the journey was no less perilous. However, the knowledge that they carried the heart of Nix gave them renewed strength. They navigated through the treacherous tunnels with determination, overcoming every obstacle that stood in their way. When they finally emerged from the depths of the planet, the sight of the Zephyr, still weak but alive, filled them with hope. Dr. Hayes approached the great beast, holding the crystal fragment. The Zephyr's eyes locked onto the glowing shard, and for the first time in days, there was a flicker of vitality in its gaze. With great care, Dr. Hayes initiated the process of transferring the crystal's energy to the Zephyr. As the heart of Nix's energy flowed into the creature, a remarkable transformation began. The Zephyr's scales regained their lustrous sheen, and its eyes glowed with renewed vigor. The once feeble roars grew in strength, echoing through the caverns with a power that had long been absent. The Zephyr slowly rose to its full height, towering over Dr. Hayes and her team, a symbol of resilience and survival. The bond between the creature and the planet was being restored, and with it, the hope for a future where Nix-9 and its guardian could thrive once more. The heart of Nix lay deep within the planet, and Dr. Mira Hayes and her team knew they were about to embark on the most dangerous journey of their lives. Their mission to save the Zephyr and Nix-9 hinged on retrieving the crystal, but the path to the planet's core was treacherous and uncharted. Captain Elias Ford led the team with the experience and resolve of a seasoned explorer. His background in navigating hazardous terrains made him the natural choice for the expedition leader. The team prepared meticulously, packing advanced mapping equipment, survival gear, and enough supplies to last several weeks. Each member carried their own specialized tools. Dr. Hayes had her medical and scientific instruments. Dr. Alan Pierce brought equipment for analyzing alien biology, and Lena Valen packed her translation devices and archaeological tools. Their journey began at the entrance to an ancient tunnel system. The air was thick with humidity, and the walls were covered in bioluminescent fungi, casting an eerie glow. The team moved cautiously, their headlamps cutting through the darkness. "We need to stick together and be vigilant," Captain Ford instructed. "These tunnels are unstable, and we don't know what kind of creatures might be lurking down here." The first challenge came sooner than expected. A section of the tunnel had collapsed, blocking their path. Using their equipment, they carefully navigated over the rubble, making sure not to disturb the fragile ceiling above. As they continued, the air grew warmer, and the walls seemed to pulse with a faint energy. Dr. Pierce paused to scan the environment. "The energy levels here are off the charts. We're definitely getting closer to something significant." Their path led them to a vast underground cavern, where the remnants of an ancient civilization lay in ruins. The cavern was filled with broken pillars, crumbling statues, and faded murals depicting scenes of a once thriving society. Lena examined the murals, trying to glean any additional information. "These people revered the Zephyr as a divine protector," she said, her voice echoing in the cavern. "They knew about the heart of Nix and its importance in maintaining balance." As they ventured deeper, the team encountered more signs of the ancient civilization. They passed through what appeared to be a grand hall, with intricate carvings and symbols adorning the walls. Lena translated the inscriptions, finding references to trials and guardians that protected the path to the heart of Nix. "It seems our journey won't be as straightforward as we hoped," she remarked. There are warnings about traps and creatures designed to deter intruders. True to the warnings, the team soon faced their first trial. A narrow bridge spanned a deep chasm, and as they began to cross, the ground beneath them started to shake. Dr. Hayes nearly lost her footing, but Captain Ford grabbed her arm just in time. "Steady, we need to move quickly but carefully," he urged. They made it across the bridge, only to be confronted by a swarm of bioluminescent insects. The creatures were harmless but disorienting, their bright lights flashing in erratic patterns. Dr. Pierce used a frequency emitter to repel the insects, allowing the team to continue. Hours turned into days as they navigated through the labyrinthine tunnels. Exhaustion set in, but their determination never wavered. They faced more trials, deadly traps, sudden cave-ins, and aggressive predators. Each challenge tested their resolve, but they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that the fate of the Zephyr and Nix-9 depended on them. Finally, they reached a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The air hummed with energy, and the walls glowed with a soft, ethereal light. At the center of the chamber stood the heart of Nix, a massive crystal pulsating with radiant energy. Dr. Hayes approached the crystal with a mix of awe and reverence. "This is it," she whispered, feeling the power emanating from the heart of Nix. "This is what we came for." Using specialized tools, Dr. Hayes carefully extracted a fragment of the crystal. The moment she did, the chamber seemed to resonate with a harmonious vibration, as if acknowledging their success. But their journey was far from over. As they turned to leave, the ground began to tremble. The extraction of the crystal fragment had triggered a reaction, and the chamber started to collapse. The team sprinted back through the tunnels, dodging falling debris and navigating through the shaking passages. Captain Ford led the way, his experience and quick thinking guiding them through the chaos. "Stay close and keep moving. We can't afford to stop." They emerged from the tunnels, breathless and covered in dust, but alive. The sight of the Zephyr, still weak but alive, greeted them as they returned to the surface. The creature's eyes locked onto the glowing shard in Dr. Hayes's hand, and a flicker of hope sparked in its gaze. With great care, Dr. Hayes initiated the process of transferring the crystal's energy to the Zephyr. As the heart of Nix's energy flowed into the creature, a remarkable transformation began. The Zephyr's scales regained their lustrous sheen, and its eyes glowed with renewed vigor. The once feeble roars grew in strength, echoing through the caverns with a power that had long been absent. The Zephyr slowly rose to its full height, towering over Dr. Hayes and her team, a symbol of resilience and survival. The bond between the creature and the planet was being restored, and with it, the hope for a future where Nix-9 and its guardian could thrive once more. The transformation of the Zephyr was nothing short of miraculous. As the energy from the heart of Nix flowed into its massive form, the creature's vitality returned with a force that was both awe-inspiring and humbling. Dr. Mira Hayes and her team watched in silence as the Zephyr stood tall once more, its scales shimmering like polished silver under the twin moons of Nix-9. The once feeble roars now echoed through the valleys, a testament to the creature's renewed strength and power. News of the Zephyr's revival spread rapidly across the galaxy. Nix-9, once a forgotten and exploited world, became the center of attention. Inhabitants of the planet, long oppressed and disheartened, emerged from their hiding places, inspired by the return of their ancient guardian. The Zephyr's recovery symbolized hope and resilience, igniting a sense of unity and purpose among the planet's diverse inhabitants. Dr. Hayes and her team knew their work was far from over. The bond between the Zephyr and Nix-9 had been restored, but the planet's ecosystem was still in a fragile state. Over the next few weeks, they collaborated with local leaders, scientists, and environmentalists to devise a comprehensive plan for the planet's recovery. Efforts to restore Nix-9's environment began immediately. Interstellar mining corporations, once driven by greed, now faced pressure from both the galactic community and their own shareholders to protect the planet and its guardian. The revelation of the Zephyr's critical role in maintaining the planet's ecosystem left them with no choice but to comply. Reclamation projects were initiated to repair the damage caused by years of exploitation. Native flora and fauna were reintroduced to their natural habitats, and sustainable practices were implemented to ensure the planet's resources were used responsibly. Advanced technology from Dr. Hayes's research vessel was employed to monitor the health of the environment, ensuring that the delicate balance was maintained. During this time, Dr. Hayes formed a close bond with the Zephyr. The creature, once feared across the galaxy, showed a surprising gentleness and intelligence. It seemed to understand the efforts being made to heal its world, and often assisted the team by guiding them to areas that needed attention. The Zephyr's presence became a source of inspiration for everyone involved in the restoration efforts. One evening, as the team gathered near the Zephyr's cave to review their progress, Captain Elias Ford spoke up. "We've come a long way, but there's still much to do. The Zephyr's recovery is just the beginning. We need to ensure that Nix-9 thrives for generations to come." Dr. Alan Pierce nodded in agreement. "The data we've collected shows significant improvement, but we must remain vigilant. The bond between the Zephyr and the planet is unique and delicate. It's our responsibility to protect it." Lena Valen added, "The ancient civilization understood this bond and lived in harmony with the Zephyr. We can learn a lot from their practices and beliefs. By integrating their wisdom with our technology, we can create a sustainable future for Nix-9. The team's dedication paid off. Gradually, the planet's ecosystems began to flourish once more. Rivers ran clear, forests grew lush, and the air was filled with the sounds of thriving wildlife. The inhabitants of Nix-9, inspired by the revival of their guardian, took pride in their role as stewards of their world. They worked alongside the team, eager to learn and contribute to the restoration efforts. Dr. Hayes found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. The challenges they had faced and the bonds they had formed with each other and with the Zephyr were experiences that would stay with her forever. She felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that they had made a lasting difference. One day, as she stood on a hillside overlooking the verdant landscape, the Zephyr approached her. The creature's eyes, once filled with pain, now radiated a calm and gentle light. It lowered its massive head, and for a moment Dr. Hayes felt a deep connection, a silent acknowledgement of their shared journey and mutual respect. In the following months, Nix-9 became a symbol of hope and renewal across the galaxy. Other worlds, inspired by the story of the Zephyr and its guardians, began to reevaluate their own practices and relationships with their environments. Dr. Hayes and her team were invited to share their knowledge and experiences, helping to spread the message of sustainability and harmony. The alliance between humans and the Zephyr marked the beginning of a new era. It was a time of cooperation and understanding, where the lessons learned on Nix-9 influenced policies and practices on countless other planets. The fear and conflict that had once defined interstellar relations gave way to a new ethos of collaboration and respect for all forms of life. As Dr. Mira Hayes looked out over the rejuvenated landscape of Nix-9, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. The most feared creature in the galaxy was no longer a symbol of terror, but a testament to the power of compassion and unity. The Zephyr, once a solitary guardian, now had allies and friends who would stand by its side, ensuring that the balance of Nix-9 would be preserved for generations to come. And thus, the Zephyr and Nix-9 thrived once more, a beacon of hope and harmony in the vast expanse of the universe.